properties of water. So water is often called the universal solvent. It is capable of dissolving more substances than any other liquid, and the reason is because H2O is a polar molecule with a partially positive charge on both hydrogen molecules, so as seen here, and a partially negative charge on the oxygen molecule. And we kind of started discussing this in video number 1. And the biological significance of this is that water has a unique ability to transfer substances in and out of cells easier than other fluids. And you'll see that play a huge role when we talk about transport around the body of certain nutrients and even wastes. Here we've got a salt molecule similar to the diagram in video 1, where you've got the sodium and chlorine atoms here, each with their respective charges, and you've got them disassociating into ions, and this makes NaCl soluble, what we call soluble, in water. You've seen that they disassociate completely into ions, and we can explain this configuration a bit more in video 1 if you want to go back. The next property is its high specific heat. Water has an extremely high specific heat of 4.18 joules per gram degree Celsius. Now, this is the energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. And why is this a significant property? And that is because it is useful to organisms who are living in the lake, say fish or algae or anything like that, who can only survive if water gradually changes temperature and very slightly also. So it would be bad if water had a specific heat roughly the same as air. That would mean that the temperature of water fluctuates very significantly during the day, and that could definitely lead to the death of several aquatic organisms who can't regulate their temperature as well. And now this is also the reason why coastal winters are more mild than inland winters. More mild meaning that your winters are warmer to an extent than inland winters, and the same for summers. Your summers are also cooler a bit than inland summers as well. The next property is high heat of vaporization. Water requires a lot of energy to evaporate from its liquid to gas phase. And you've got the biological significance listed here is sweating school effect. And sweating in organisms like humans has a cooling effect through the property of evaporative cooling. Now, when your core temperature, say you're exercising, and your core temperature, internal body temperature, is constantly rising, what happens is your sweat glands secrete the salty water called sweat onto your skin. What happens after that is that in order for that water to evaporate, it actually uses some of that heat energy internally that you're generating to use to evaporate that water. That way, whenever sweat evaporates, you get that cooling effect. And it also helps cool your skin. Cohesion and adhesion is another property. Cohesion is the resistance of water molecules from coming apart from each other due to hydrogen bond attractions. Another property of cohesion, it's kind of a sub-property, is surface tension. It's an example of cohesion, and we'll look at an example of that below. Adhesion is the other property, and it is the attraction of water molecules to particular surfaces due to those same hydrogen bond attractions. So cohesion, water to water attraction, okay? Adhesion, water to a surface. And you'll see these examples right here. The first example is of a glass tube, and we have water in the tube. You can see this curved shape right here is called the meniscus. And the reason we get that, and we get the water start to climb up the walls of the surface of the glass, is due to this adhesive property. You see that the water wants to adhere pretty much, or stick onto the glass surface. The next one is due to cohesion. You've got a penny here, and you've got droplets of water that are kind of doming up right there, and they don't want to drop or make the water drop, and that is due to cohesion. It is the resistance of water molecules from coming apart or exploding over this penny from the hydrogen bond attractions between them. Here is a bug that can actually walk on water, and this is due to surface tension. Surface tension is basically the resistance of a water surface to break or to be broken up. And so when the bug exerts its weight on the water, the surface tension allows it to float on top and not penetrate that layer of water or the surface of water. The final example actually shows cohesion and adhesion working together for a very biologically significant process, and that is getting water up xylem, which are stems found in trees, and getting water up in order to receive the necessary nutrient of water to the leaves and several branches of a tree that are up above. Now, this is done against gravity, and it's done by an adherence of water molecules to the cell walls of these xylem cells. And you get cohesion as well between each of those molecules together, and that allows the water to go up the xylem cells together in unity. The final kind of property that we're going to talk about is water's low density in its solid phase. So H2O has a lower density in its solid phase than its liquid phase, and therefore ice floats in water. Now you may think, oh, of course, duh, yeah, that's true. Well, actually, this is pretty significant for biological systems. And also a point on that is that usually solids are more dense than their liquid counterparts or their liquid phases. But in this case, it's actually very beneficial that the solid phase of ice, of water, which is ice, actually has a lower density than water itself. One of these biological significances is that bodies of water don't freeze completely from the bottom down or something like that, but they freeze at the top, and it kind of encompasses the heat at the bottom. So you'll see fish reside here, and that helps organisms not die. See, you're not getting the full freezing effect of the winter or of cooler temperatures throughout the entire lake or pond or whatever body of water. Instead, you're getting an ice surface on the top because ice is constantly floating to the top. Okay? And I hope you enjoyed this video about the properties of water. Stay on the lookout for some new videos where we'll start talking about macromolecules.